I love getting outside of my comfort zone. And when it comes to music, there's not many artists that really get me outside of what I'm comfortable listening to. But enter Death Grips. Even the name sounds uncomfortable. Even the name scares me. Death Grips. What could that mean? Death Grips is a musical group that consists of 3 people. In the simplest of terms, Death Grips is just experimental hip hop. But honestly, there's not really any combination of words that can describe what Death Grips sounds like. It's experimental hip hop mixed with like industrial music, mixed with like some electronic music, and then some like noise music, and then like rock music, like punk rock and like hard rock. It's all tied together with Anthony Fantano. The music itself is just one of the many factors that makes this band uncomfortable for me and any other person to listen to, and we're gonna get into all the uncomfortable feelings in this video, starting with the album artwork. If you take a look at their album artwork, you will immediately realize that Death Grips does not like to do things the regular way. They don't follow the mainstream media standards, you know. All of their album artwork has a very DIY vibe to it, you know, kind of like a Bandcamp artist type vibe. And none of their album art really depicts what the album sounds like, except for the Money Store, I feel like, and I'll get into that a little bit later into this video. I don't necessarily think that a picture of an Asian lady sitting on an oversized chair depicts the sound of Fashion Week, or the fact that a male genitalia depicts the sound of No Love Deep Web. While it may have some obscure meaning to do with like the lyricism and stuff like that, I don't think it does a good job depicting of what the album sounds like. Also, take Year of The Snitch, which is super uncomfortable looking, which honestly it might be the vibe that Death Grips was going for, because if we take a look at their music videos, another thing that is visually uncomfortable with the band, their music videos feels like found footage that no one was supposed to find, you know. It feels like I clicked on the wrong link on my computer. There's all these weird, strange, and feverish visuals. You got the frontman of the band, MC Reid, this rapping with so much passion, and you can see the passion in his face, but then you got these weird, like, visuals happening right in front of him and stuff like that. Like, take the Guillotine music video, for example. The way it's edited is so uncomfortable and weird, but it's also so cool, and it fits the vibe of the music so well. And speaking of music, I think it's finally about time that we dive into what Death Grips actually sounds like. It's unlike anything I've ever heard before in my entire life. The band consists of 3 members. On the production side of things, we got Zach Hill, who also plays the drums, and we got Andy Morin, who also plays the synthesizers. And their production on these albums really shine. If you want to see like just them 2 in action, then listen to Fashion Week, because that's an instrumental album, so you don't have to get distracted by MC Ride's passionate vocals. The way that these producers sample is unlike anything I've ever heard before. They can take something as simple as Serena Williams just grunting as she hits a tennis ball and turn it into something that I would probably die to if I was at a Death Grips concert trying to get into the mosh pit. And then the drumming from Zach Hill is a fantastic compliment to the production of Andy Morin. And when I say that their music is all over the place, I mean that their music is all over the place. They can go from songs having like super wild and loud and crazy ass synthesizers going all over the place to super heavy guitars that sounds like it'd be like a punk rock or hard rock song, to these crazy weird vocal chops and vocal manipulation samples and stuff like that. And there's all these different points in their songs that can make any producer or music maker think, how the hell did they make that sound? A good album that shows like their wide range and wide scope of sounds is the album Powers That Be, which is a double-sided album, or it's a double album. The first half of the album, the first album of the double album, Death Grips got Bjork to come into the studio and record a bunch of vocal stuff for them, and then they basically just chopped and manipulated the hell out of it to make it sound just super spastic, but also like really urethral and also really hectic, and there's so many different adjectives that I could use to describe this, but it's not gonna do it justice. You just kind of have to listen to it. It's crazy, man. But then the second half of the album more so has these really electronic guitars, these really awesome guitar riffs that can be found pretty much in any guitar-driven song that's not rap. So it's a really interesting contrast between the first album and the second album of the Powers That Be. There's a bunch of random like switch-ups in their music that like makes things seem very off-kilter and chaotic and hectic. The song Bird starts off super electronic and once again has some interesting like vocal manipulation going on in there. And then it turns into this like really somber type song with like these like interesting guitars going on in there. The change in tone is really interesting. The chorus is super super dark, and then the verse is just more somber and more softer. Probably a song that does their best job at showing how wide they can get and sound is Death Grips Online. The song's chorus is once again a very like punkish, rockish type feel to it. Kind of feels like pop punk in a way, but then the verse of the song switches it up to like a more trance techno type feeling. And then there's also this really crazy break with these insane vocal screams. And probably my favorite thing about the band is the way they manipulate vocals and vocal samples, like in the song Hacker or Hustle Bones, where Hustle Bones has an insane chorus with an insane vocal chops going on in there, and then Hacker has vocal chops going on throughout the whole verse of the song. The producers also manipulate MC Bride's vocals throughout the entire discography of the band. One notable example of this is in the verse of Hothead. They make it sound so robotic but so cool. And speaking of vocals, we gotta talk about MC Ride because he really just demands your attention whenever you listen to a Death Grips song. He is so passionate, and the way that he delivers his vocals is so aggressive and so abrasive. He really doesn't sound like he belongs in a hip-hop group. He really just sounds like he belongs to some sort of rock group or something like that. But it's just so interesting to hear someone in the rap space rapping like MC Ride, because I feel like that doesn't happen a whole lot. And now I want to talk a little bit about the lyrics. While there can be some fun lyrics, you know, like have a sad come baby, or I piss on your face and I'm like piss. But for every lyric we have about piss and cum, we got a lyric for some extremely haunting stuff. And I really just want to highlight one album in particular in this little section about the lyrics. That is The Money Store. The album artwork and the actual sound of the album instrumentally makes it seem like this album takes place in some sort of dystopian society. Whether or not they're trying to imply that the society is today and we are living in that society currently, I don't know. And the way that MC Ride raps about this society is very haunting. He raps from his perspective, it seems like. Whether or not he actually did these things is a mystery, I feel like. Either way, these lyrics paint a very distinct and clear picture of MC Ride living in this dystopian society, and there's a lot of very visual lyrics about bank robberies and murder and police car chases and drugs, lots of drugs, and also riots. It tells this really interesting story, and it all comes together at the end with Hacker. Basically, all hell breaks loose. Yeah, there's so many different things to love about Death Grips, but I think the thing that I love the most about them is how uncomfortable they make me feel. If you want to hear about the only other band that has made me feel as uncomfortable as Death Grips, then check out this video right here where I talk about Animal Collective, which is probably my favorite band of all time.